Hey guys, welcome back to a special episode of A2D. It's Wednesday night, January 26th. I'm Michael. I'm here with Bryan, like always. Man, it's kind of a sad day today. We're both donning our Kobe gear. 2-year anniversary of Kobe's death, man. So I won't ever wear Laker colors, but got the Kobe on. So rest in peace, Mamba. We miss you, man. My boy Devin Booker went off for 43 tonight in memory of him. You could see in his face that he had some thoughts in his head about honoring Kobe tonight. So anyway, Matt, we're not going to get too emotional about it, but yeah. So
had to go out today too. I went out to the park today. Had to get some buckets. Had to get some shots up for Kobe.
Yeah,
you already know.
Yeah, man.
But I mean, it's Wednesday and it's championship week in the NFL, and we're not going to get into that. But there were some major coaching news that we, had to get into a little bit. Sean Payton. That was some huge news. We found out yesterday that he's stepping away. He didn't say he's retiring, but he's stepping away. What's your what's your thoughts on that?
I've heard a lot of speculation. With that. My personal thing, I don't like Sean Payton. It's been 13 years, and I still have memories about how dirty of a coach, he got suspended for an entire year for that stuff that he pulled in that 2009 championship game. And I even this year with that game against the Bucs, I think they were targeting in that game too. I'm glad to see him go. I mean, I've never liked the guy. There's been a lot of speculation of, him with Drew Brees and, the fact that Drew left, that, waiting out a year to see if another job opened. There's a whole bunch of stuff. It's just, man, the guy's getting up in age and he's starting to realize maybe it's health. He's not going to talk about his health online, but, it's just, I think it's time for him to maybe step back for a little bit. It may not be the end of him. We may see him in a coaching box again. We may see him, part of we might see him part of
or something.
Yeah, well, I think he'll probably be part of an organization at some point. You saw what, oh gosh, name slipping away from me, but the coach that coached the Giants for all those years, you saw him take a step away from coaching and went into Jacksonville and got into a player personnel type role. You might see that with Sean Payton.
Oh,
Tom Coughlin. Yeah, you might see that with So you might see that with Payton. But dude, all in all, man, I'm glad to see him go. I think the NFL is better without guys like that. I think he's a dirty coach. I think I know he did a lot for the city of New Orleans, but he's not my favorite person. So we'll just leave it at that. But I know he's in your division, so you probably have some thoughts about him too.
You and me both.
Yeah. So,
but sure, yeah, dude. Like he's. I mean, how did he leave the organization? I mean, he went and just paid all these guys. You paid Taysom Hill all this money, and now they're 46, 47 million over the cap going into next year, and you're gonna just cut and run. You know what I mean? Like now that the deck isn't stacked, now that you don't have Drew Brees, now that you actually got to build a team. He had Drew Brees for how long? They won one time. They went to the playoffs a lot. That was cool. I think they've got 5 division championships in a row. So he's obviously a good coach. The results are there. They speak for themselves, but he just always came up short. That's kind of the legacy that I, think of. And there's a lot of Dallas rumors, that's what I've been hearing. He's going to sit out for 1 year and then go to Dallas. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe he goes to TV or something for a year, because right now, New Orleans still has his rights for 3 years, I believe is what it is. So if Dallas is going to have to give up some draft compensation maybe or whatever it is, someone's going to have to give up something if they really want Sean Payton. Because I don't think he's going back to New Orleans. I mean, their cap situation, they're going to have to get rid of some key players if they, plan on doing anything with, this year, because they got a quarterback. Is Taysom Hill going to be your quarterback? Is Jameis Winston? You're going to pay Jameis. You got Kamara, you got Michael Thomas, you got Cameron Jordan. You got all these guys making all this money. So they're going to have to let go of some key players. And I think the right tackle, Teron Armstead, is a free agent. He's going to get paid. So it's going to be interesting in New Orleans. So he took off at the right time. I don't know if say the right time, because to me that's kind of, like I said, you're cutting and running at the wrong time. You're leaving them at a worse spot than when you got there. So I don't know. That's typical Sean Payton, though. For me, he's gonna do what's best for him, like he always does. So
Yeah, man. I've come to dislike the Saints as much as I dislike the Packers. I've never really cared for that organization. I obviously respected Drew Brees. I like Drew Brees. When he left, it kind of made it easy to root against them. I respect Alvin Kamara's talent, but even like the diva they have with Michael Thomas, like he's somebody that they're going to cut off the books and save, a little bit of money with him. There's I saw an article today about 10 people that could possibly not be with the Saints next year. Michael Thomas is obviously number one on that list. He's the easiest person to get rid of. I don't know how much talent he actually, holds without, Drew Brees at the helm. I don't know how much production he's going to put up anyway. Kamara is another guy that, if they were to find a way, I don't see him being cuttable. There's no way you're going to cut one of the top 5.
That's the franchise now. I think that's the franchise player now,
But as far as, as far as like moving in a different direction and bringing compensation in for him, they could trade him away and save, I think it was like 16 million against the cap. I don't see that happening. He is their franchise, so that one kind
basically
of
everybody else though is up for grabs. Everyone.
Like Cameron Jordan was on that list. He's getting up there in age. I think he's like 33, 34, so
and his production doesn't match his pay. He's not like he's getting, defensive player of the year consideration or 20 sacks, 15 sacks. He's solid. He produces. He shows up in big moments for them. But to me, he's a cut, and then so is the receiver. He's the easy cut. You can draft another receiver in the first round, second round. Like they'll be all right. They just got to keep Kamara, figure out the quarterback situation. To me, that's easy. You either go with Jameis or you find one of these potential other guys. Taysom, that's another easy cut for me. So, there's Cameron Jordan, Michael Thomas, and, Taysom Hill. That saves a lot of money, and those are 3 cuts that I'm doing easily. And then figuring out the quarterback situation. Do you draft a guy? Because this doesn't look like the draft that, like last year we had 4 quarterbacks in the first round. Like this year is not the one. So I think they're gonna have to go for either Jameis or maybe I don't want to say Jimmy Garoppolo or one of these guys that becomes available. So New Orleans, but they're gonna need a receiver too. They're gonna have a major change over there. Their coach, I think the coaching, with that we haven't mentioned yet, Dennis Allen.
Yeah,
he's the defensive coordinator over there.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the easy one. He's going to step up and become the head coach. So I think that's almost set in stone. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens pretty soon. But yeah, that's basically my 2 cents on that. The Saints are going to be doing a lot of changes, man. So we'll see. I don't think they're going to be contending in the South, for anytime soon. You never know, but seems like they're going to do a rebuild for sure.
Yeah. And, like what you just said, rebuild. So that's perfect. That was the perfect segue for what I was about to talk about. We talk about quarterbacks. You're not going to talk about Russ. You're not going to talk about Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to want to go to a rebuild team. We talked about Cameron Jordan. What I could see them doing would be something similar to what like Minnesota did with Everson Griffin. We had to let him go because of money reasons. He wasn't producing at the, $8 million a year stripe. So, we let him go. He did move on to Detroit and Dallas. Then he eventually came back and signed for 1.5, so, and he ended up producing for us pretty much the same way he was the 3 years before that. So, I can see Cameron Jordan. Cameron Jordan's, he's still got some juice left in those legs, and, he stops the run well. He plays the run really well for a defensive end. So I could see him taking a friendly deal just to play in New Orleans. But it depends on how bad he wants to win a championship, because they're not there and they're not going to be there.
Right. Exactly.
it depends on how loyal he wants to be to the city and to his teammates. And New Orleans is a pretty loyal city. I have some friends that are from
For
New
sure.
Orleans, and you look at LSU, those boys, that entire area, they're all about who dat nation. But you got to be real about what they're looking towards, and
Right.
especially losing their
He's
head
gonna
coach.
see what's out there. If he gets let go, he's gonna see what's out there. Because if there's a contender that can pay him more than New Orleans, I think that's a pretty easy decision for him. Because Sean Payton's not there. Those are his real connection with Sean Payton. Even though Dennis Allen has been his defensive coordinator for some years now, so maybe like you said, he could stick around, but it's gonna have to be at a much different salary because right now they're fucked.
Yeah,
They're gonna have to do a lot.
they have like pretty raw talent, like a Marcus Davenport that's sitting there, sitting
Yeah.
behind him. And I've always been a fan of giving these guys some opportunity to shine.
It's a first
He's
round pick.
obviously he's obviously gonna be a lot cheaper. He's shining some moments too. So that's probably who would step in if they were to let him go, and it's a cheaper option. And the kid, he's still pretty raw, but he's a pretty good young talent. So,
Right.
it just depends on which direction they go in. On offense, I mean, again, you hit quarterback, man. Jameis after the knee injury, I mean, he's never last year before the injury. I mean, he was looking probably the best Jameis we've seen, and then the devastating knee injury. He's never really been a mobile quarterback. I can't imagine that like deflecting his career in like a negative way, but I could see it being a talking point on no contract. And I
For
can't see
sure.
him get anything more than 18 to 20 million on a prove it
And it's
deal.
going to be it'll be a short deal
Yeah,
too,
1 or 2
because
years. Yeah.
he's still got to prove it, like he was having his best start because he was on the best team. His early years in Tampa, the team wasn't there yet. The offensive line wasn't, just missing Tristan Wirfs. We saw how good that offensive line was last week. That they weren't that good, and Tristan was never there with Jameis. And then
Yeah.
they never had Antoine Winfield. The defense wasn't that good. Lenny was never there. His lead back was Rojo, and Rojo's pretty one dimensional. He never had a back that can do it all like Kamara, and all of a sudden he did, and he started checking it down a lot. I think Jameis, I've always been a Jameis believer. I think whoever signs him, whether it's New Orleans or somebody, I think he's going to do pretty solid. Hopefully he goes to the right spot. So we'll see. That's almost it on the Saints. The other
I wanted to touch
yeah,
on
go
one
ahead.
more thing. I mean, because like we talk, we're catching everybody up on our text messages that we go throughout the day. And, what I said earlier today is you build half your team through the draft. And, they've done that on their defensive side of the ball. They have some pretty young studs, pretty good on young studs on that side of the ball. On offense, though, man, like where they're sitting, I think they sit like with the 14th pick or something like that. I think they're sitting right behind Minnesota and Cleveland. What they could do and what I would like, not what I would like for them to do, but what I would probably project them to do is somebody like a big bodied receiver. If they're gonna cut Michael Thomas before the draft, which I fully see it happening, I would see them going with a big body receiver like a Drake London, and that would be a perfect kind of receiver for someone like Jameis because he was used to playing with Mike and stuff like that. So, if that's the way that they're going to go, I mean, they can start rebuilding, and then it'd be
Right.
perfect for Jameis. You could see Jameis thrive. So,
Yeah, I kind of agree where you're going. I don't necessarily like feel like, oh, the big body thing. Just get the best receiver. They need a damn playmaker out there in
yeah,
the worst way. So whatever shape he comes in, because Jamar Chase, he was just the first receiver taken, and he's not a big body guy. He's a playmaker. So they need someone out there with some juice, and they need someone out there that gives some life. Because right now it's Kamara or bust. He's the only person that gives you any fear on that offense, and everyone can just on defense, focus on him. So they need someone out there that can, make guys miss and beat you deep too, So
yeah.
they
No,
need
yeah, I see
whoever
it.
it
I see.
is.
I think
I think that's the. I'm not sure about the draft. I haven't done a lot of research on the whole draft candidates and all that stuff. I'm a Bucks fan, so I'm locked in on. I thought I was getting a Super Bowl again, so I'm not looking at no draft crap. But
I've been looking at the draft
but that's
since November, man, when I knew the Vikings were
right.
making playoffs.
Right,
So,
right.
you know,
But no, that's what they need. That's exactly what the Saints need because
yeah.
they have to get rid of Michael Thomas, and a playmaker out there is exactly what they're going to need. But to wrap up the Saints, that's basically it for the coaching news. We had some GM news today. I think we had one hire yesterday, one hire today. Yesterday, real quick, was Joe Shine, the GM. He came from Buffalo, but he's now in the New York Giants.
Mm-hmm.
So that they hired him. Just connecting the dots real quick. I think Brian Daboll probably gets that job. Um, then the other one was your team. You
Yeah.
guys got you a GM today.
So we actually had two hires in the NFC North today. One was Ryan Poles for the Bears. I think that's actually a great hire for them too. It came down to him and Kwesi Adolfo Mensah. Am I saying that correctly? I better be saying it
Sounds good to
correctly because
me. That's what
I'm a
it
Vikings
reads
fan.
like.
Yeah, he was one of the player directors for the Cleveland Browns. So what I like about this hire for Minnesota is the fact that you know, he was part of the development team that put together that offensive line, something that Minnesota really hasn't had in 20 years. So I'm kind of hoping when it comes to the draft, we really start to find those golden, because we have maybe two guys, two to three guys on our offensive line that produce, and then we have two just, it looks like we leak water. So
Right.
kind of hoping that we complete that offensive line. I do like Wyatt Davis. He was our third round pick out of Ohio State last year. He didn't really get a chance to play this year. I think he started the year with COVID, then got banged up, and he was our second string guard throughout the year. And we have Mason Cole. We have a whole bunch of guards. But to make a long story short, just to shore up that offensive line, defensively, I think we have a lot of pieces, but I don't think we've been able to gel well the last couple of years. Zimmer, was supposed to be a defensive guru, didn't really have these guys gelling. So I'm interested to see who we bring in as an 11-man unit. Plus, we're going to have some nickels and all that kind of stuff behind it. I'm interested to see how, if we keep Patterson as our defensive coordinator.
I mean, it really starts with the head coach, though, right? Like connecting the
It
dots.
does.
If he comes from Cleveland, um, is there any? I think there's a few head coaches that he's rumored to be linked with. I think D'Amico Ryans was one who's actually looking pretty good right now.
So D'Amico
Um,
Ryans, yeah. So all three coaches that he's looking at are actually still involved in playoff contention. So, it's, I know Kevin O'Connell from the Rams is one of them. That's personally my favorite hire, only because I'm a Sean McVay fan. I like that. I like that tree. It's just a positive way of coaching. Kevin O'Connell, he used to be, I believe he was a quarterback. I think he played all around, but I think he played for the Lions. He played for the Browns. He played all over the place. But an offensive minded guy, somebody that Minnesota really hasn't had in a while. And let's be real, like our talent mostly is on the offensive side of the ball right now. So
100%.
we'll see if we
You
can
have you
truly.
just had my bad, but you just had Mike Zimmer for how long?
Mhm.
It's offense. You just said it. Like to me, you got to go offense. And if Kevin O'Connell in aggressive offensive too, no more reserved crap, no more trusting your defense crap. Well, you just said it, man. Your best players are on offense. Let Kirk, let Jefferson, let Dalvin, let them go win you games.
I think the biggest goal we need to have on offense. We know what Dalvin is. I mean, he's a top 5 running back in football when he's healthy. We know what Justin Jefferson is. I mean, same thing. I think he's him, Jamar Chase. I mean, that's the future of the NFL. Especially at the receiver position. Adam Thielen is the wily veteran who's going to be around. He's going to be a Viking for life. He's going to be there. He's going to have his 80 catches for 900 yards and 10 touchdowns. That's just how he plays. I think the goal for our offense is unlocking Kirk's like full potential. I think the problem with Kirk is, number one, he gets in his own head sometimes. So like in primetime games, he gets in his own head, especially, when they're playing the Packers or when they're playing these really meaningful big games. He gets in his head and he tries to do too much. That's Kirk's number one problem. Number two problem is I feel like his coaching staff, I think he wants to be the aggressor, and I think he wants to throw the ball deep, and I think he wants to take chances. And I think his coaching staff in the last couple of years has held him back. So what I'm really hoping for is somebody like a Sean McVay who's going to take those chances. He's going to pull those triggers.
Fourth down, he's going to trust his offense.
Yeah. So having the offensive coordinator, hopefully that's coming from the same tree and the same mind frame to really unlock Kirk's potential, because I think if the offense goes, we can keep the defense off the field a little bit and, start scoring more points, start going for it on 4th and 2, 4th and 3 from the 40, 50-yard line, and, start unlocking some points instead of kicking every damn time.
Yeah, trying to pin him back deep because you love defense. Let's go score, especially when you have those kind of players on offense. That's what you have to do, man. I think that's a good hire. Kevin O'Connell or whoever it is. I heard Brian Dable, but I think he's going to end up going to New York, since they just got the Buffalo guy.
Yeah.
But either way, an offensive guy, someone that's not going to be, afraid to go for it and play to their strengths. And right now, that's the strength of that team.
Yeah. And the other side of it, man, that I like about it, he did play in the NFL. He's going to be able to connect to that locker room. Zimmer is a great mind. And I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to, knock on him. He put in a lot of good years in Minnesota. He really turned that defense around for the first few years. So, I wish him well. I think he's probably reached the point of retirement. He didn't look 100% healthy last year. He started having some trembles in the hands and stuff. I think he's going to retire. So I wish him well.
Had a good run, man.
Yeah. But now, man, the NFL, it's all about being able to adapt and connect with your players. And these young guys coming in, man, I keep touching on it, like the Sean McVays, the Kyle Shanahans, like these guys are able to connect to their players. They grew up around the game of football. They've been around the NFL. Some of them played in the NFL. Shanahan, his dad was a coach. McVay's been a coordinator for, the dude's only like 36, something like that. Yeah. Well, he's been around for years, so I think someone who played in the NFL will be able to connect to his play. So DeMeco Ryans, even though he's on the other side of the ball, he even played with some of these guys. So he would connect with them very well.
He'll just need a really good offensive coordinator, but that might work, because he seems to be like a leader of men. You guys need that too.
Yeah. So I trust, obviously, everybody holds our new GM in a really high regard. There's a lot of respect. Just what I'm reading about him, I don't know much about him. He was the assistant player director or something like that for the Browns. I don't know much about him. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. But from what I'm reading about him, everybody holds him in high regards. He holds multiple, degrees from Princeton and Stanford. So, he's a smart guy. And sounds like he has a lot of respect from players and coaches that have played with him and coached with him. So I'm, have worked with him. So I'm really excited to see what he's got. This coaching hire will be, because it's a team that can compete. I'm not going to say that we're going to win a championship within the next couple of years, but we can compete for one. So
you can win the division, and all you got to do is get in there, and you just had Kirk Cousins, to me, who had a top 10 quarterback year. So, maximizing Kirk, that's going to be cool and all, but they need to build the team. Look at Jimmy Garoppolo right now. Hasn't thrown a touchdown in 2 playoff games. You mentioned Kyle Shanahan, because they have, Kyle Shanahan. They go for it on 4th down sometimes. They get, creative. They're using Debo in all sorts of ways, so and their players respond to him. So that's, coaching and building the team, matters, because it's not all on Kirk. Kirk, to me, is really good. He's damn good. Top 10. If you're a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, you should be able to win, and they offensively, they produce. So to me, just to maybe, like you said, maximize that, it's possible. And O'Connell, I think that'd be a good hire, for sure. So I originally was on the Kellen Moore train, but now that you guys got this guy, I think that's pretty much out of it. So maybe it's O'Connell or DeMeco Ryans. It could be DeMeco, because he's got the Niners defense playing pretty good right now. And like I said, the leader of men, and then, getting these guys to respond to you. He seems like he's one of these young up and coming coaches that could be pretty good. They just had
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I would agree with you on those. I mean, I think it would be down to those two coaches, and I'd be excited about either one. Obviously, on each side of the ball. The only reason why I'm heavily pushing for Kevin O'Connell is only because it's different than what we've had. You know, we've had defensive minded for so long. I think the play calling, is going to be important this year. I think it's something that it's always nice to have a fresh new outlook on it. And I think Kirk getting excited going into a year is something we really haven't seen. He just kind of shows up, does his business, and goes home. I want to see an excited Kirk Cousins. I mean,
he's the man, dude. You should. And that's what great coaches do in any sport. They play to your players' strengths. You adjust, you play to your players' strengths. And right now, it's obviously the offense. Like don't be punting and fourth down when you're in enemy territory. Go for it, especially
you
with
need to
those
believe in
guys.
your offense. Yeah,
exactly. And then they're gonna respond. Your players will respond to that. You see it in Kansas City. You see it in Buffalo. You look at like every team that's playing right now. Cincinnati, you bet your ass they're going for it. Kyle Shanahan's going for it more often than not. So you got to risk it to get the biscuit.
And you look at the one time a team played safe for 13 seconds and they lost the game because of it, or they lost, they went to overtime because of it. I'm not going to say those third, but there would have been no chance for overtime if they would have just played defense and trust the fact that their guys aren't going to give up 75 yards in 13 seconds. But they played, 6 men. You can't play safe, especially against the Chiefs. You can't play safe against them. You got to be aggressive in this league, man. And if you get burned by, if you play with fire and get burned, like it is what it is. But if you're playing, with you're gonna, it just, I don't agree with the safe outlook in the NFL anymore. There's too much talent. These guys are too fucking smart. These other coaches are way too aggressive to be playing safe. And again, I love Zimmer, but he was just the safest coach in the NFL. And,
Right.
4th and 2 from the 45 with 4 minutes left, like he's punting because he thinks his defense can get a stop.
Right.
No, man. Like even if you have a 7-point lead, like get after it. I would be sitting there screaming on Sundays, yelling, like go for the throat, like slit their throat now so they can't have a chance to come back. And every damn time they'd come back because these teams are too talented, and defenses get tired, and that's what it is. So anyway,
just
man,
don't be Brandon Staley and be, going for it 4th and 8 from your own 25.
Well, that's different, man. Fourth and
that
one,
guy.
4th and 1,
That guy.
against the Chiefs, and you already have a 7-0 lead. Like 10-0 against the Chiefs is better than 7-0. I understand 14-0 is better than both, but at that point in time, a 2-possession game, especially how much was on the line in that game. There's times to roll the dice and there's time not to, especially the second and third time he did it. Like they already stopped you once. What do you think is going to happen again? They're going to stop. I mean, it's just that one I didn't agree with. That was too aggressive, but I see what you're saying there. But
he definitely cost them more games than he won them. And at this level, that's what it's about. I talked about it last week. Coaching, you're going to lose a lot more games than you're going to win the games. The players are going to decide these games. So as a coach, you got to just put them in the best position and almost go with what the numbers say, and if the numbers say go for it, go for it. Don't be scared. You got to risk it to get the biscuit, man, for sure.
So
what other news we got today? Or you go ahead. You have something else?
Yeah, the other hire I wanted to go into, because I actually think this is a great hire, man. The Bears, even though I'm not a Bears fan, I can't stand the Bears. Right. They hired Ryan Poles, man, and he was the other GM that we were discussing to bring to Minnesota. And he's
linked to Flores, right?
He's linked to Brian Flores, which again, Miami was, I think they pulled the trigger on him way too quickly. I think he's a great head coach. I think guys fight for him. I think he connects well in his locker room. He didn't really have the talent on offense this year to compete with the other teams in that division, and he did. I mean, he came up short, of course, but they won. They rattled off 7 or 8 straight, and
they had 7 straight too, though.
Yeah, but they also, they didn't have. Their quarterback was in and out of the lineup. They kind of. They never had Devontae Parker for half the season. They didn't really unlock
Waddle, Gesicki.
Yeah, they didn't really unlock Waddle until like games 5 and 6. Like they didn't really, and that's kind of how it goes with rookies sometimes, unless if you're Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson who hit in game 2 and just go on, But he became a top 10 receiver this year, stat wise, and they started to realize, hey, get this kid the ball. Myles Gaskin, everybody was high on him this year, and he had a really, really slow start, and then he had a couple.
He's like a good pass catching back, maybe, but they need someone that can plow through and get some tough yards. They need to hook up that offensive line a little bit more. But the defense, during the win streak, they started getting going. So, and that's what Flores is known for. They got some pieces in Chicago, Khalil Mack, Eddie Jackson at safety, Roquan Smith at linebacker, Akeem Hicks in the middle. So they got some pieces. If they hire Flores, he's a defensive backs kind of guy. They just drafted a rookie last year, their safety. I think he was number 8. I forget his name, but he was an all rookie safety in Miami. They already have a Eddie Jackson at safety in Chicago, who's a damn good safety. So if they could just get a couple corners, which Flores is known for, offensively, they got some running backs, they got Fields, they got Mooney. They can draft another receiver later. Allen Robinson is going to go, but I could see Chicago with that coach and that they could run the ball, and play defense. In Miami they couldn't really run the ball worth a shit. It was really on Tua. So but in Chicago with Montgomery, they got Khalil Herbert, Damian Williams. They had 3 pretty decent running backs. So that division, especially if Aaron Rodgers leaves, that division, if they get Flores, the Vikings their hire is going to be critical. I could see those 2 teams, would obviously jump to the front. It depending on if it's Jordan Love's Packers. I'm not going to have a lot of faith in him. I'll go with Kirk Cousins and Justin Fields over him. Kirk Cousins all of a sudden is the best quarterback in the division. So Justin Fields has the potential, and Flores, to me, that seems like a damn good fit. They've always been a defensive. I know they want to, make Justin Fields like these other guys, like Mahomes and all these other guys, but Chicago's always been a defensive place, and he's a defensive-minded guy. They build that defense. Defense wins championships. I still believe that. That's what won us our championship. I still believe that. But get an offensive coordinator they can take care of Fields. Just if you get Flores, get you a good offensive coordinator. He'll take care of Fields, and I could see Chicago, possibly win a division or competing for one.
So they have, in my book, they have 2 potential hires. There's no question that they're looking at a defensive minded guy after Matt Nagy kind of shit the bed, never really did anything for that offense. They have actually quite a lot of talent. I think Brian Flores makes the most sense. He's kind of stepping into a situation like he had in Miami. He has a young quarterback. He has, the offensive line and run game kind of already put in place. So there's that. Justin Fields, I think, has a little bit more swagger than Tua. So I think Justin Fields might be able, I think Tua might have maybe a little bit, I don't know. They're very similar to me, but it just seems like Justin Fields has the swagger, and
I think the biggest separation is toughness. Justin Fields, he's tough, man. You got to knock him out of the game. Tua gets hurt all the time. You could basically knock him out of 4 games every year. It seems like he's just a smaller guy. Justin Fields, his ability to run too, because Tua is not a runner. Justin, if you're a defensive-minded coach, then you like quarterbacks that can get you a first down, get you another first down, just extend the drive, let me punt, put him back deep, worst case scenario, who's not going to turn it over. Like if you're a defensive coach, those are kind of quarterbacks you like. Look at Harbaugh in Baltimore. He loves Lamar. I know he's not going to be Lamar. I think Justin Fields is a little bit more balanced. I like him. I liked him coming out of college. He showed up big in big moments. On against Pittsburgh, he showed up. Against San Francisco, he showed up. The nationally televised games, he showed up. He's always been a prime time type player. He beat Clemson and Trevor Lawrence in college. I was pretty high on him coming out. I thought the Niners should have took him over Trey Lance. That was just me. But we'll see. I think Flores or maybe D'Amico Ryans. I don't know if there's any rumors or anything about that. I'm just throwing names out there that I think will be pretty good. But that's what they got to do. Get the defense right, because like you just said about Nagy, they try the offensive route. That's not it. And I don't think they need a offensive leader. I think they need a leader of men, which is Flores, maybe Ryan, to get the right leader in there, and then get your coordinators, figured out. That's what it's about anyway. The best teams have, really good coordinators calling plays.
Mm-hmm.
You need the right leaders in place, and I think Flores and Ryans are going to be pretty good over in Chicago. Perhaps, maybe we'll see. We'll see
Well,
what happens.
Well, the two biggest possibilities there in my book is going to be, Brian Flores, because of his connection with Ryan Poles. They both, that was the big talk about when he came to Minnesota, was the fact that, or if when we interviewed him, was he going to be able to pull Brian Flores? And I would have liked that hire too. Again, I like the guy as a head coach. I think he's a strong head coach. But Dan Quinn was in Chicago, I think yesterday or today, getting his second interview. So
Second, yeah.
he's probably one of the front runners too. You said D'Amico Ryans, again, a defensive guy is going to take that job. They're not making any kind of secret on what kind of route they're going to go in. Everybody that they're interviewing is on the defensive side of the ball, so they're not making it.
And that's almost the strength of their players on their team, right? Like we just mentioned, you played your strengths. Look at the strengths. They got Khalil Mack, Hakeem Hicks, and we just mentioned Roquan Smith, Eddie Jackson. They got some guys on defense, just maybe draft one or two more, and all of a sudden that defense could be top 5 like it was a couple years ago. And that's what really got them to the playoffs. They got Trubisky to the playoffs because that defense was, dominating a couple years ago. They need to get back to that. And then Justin Fields, if Trubisky can do it, Justin Fields, man, and then if he gets hot, man, he's going to be dangerous. That kid has all the ability. So
yeah, and they're gonna have a high draft pick too. So and they're gonna draft well. And this is a guy that's gonna come, and he's gonna come in and he's gonna draft well. It comes from the Chiefs. He's gonna know how to handle his players, know how to handle his coaching staff, especially when he hires his head coach. Like it's probably going to be a guy like Flores, because they're going to have great communication, and it's just going to be unison inside the locker room. Something that a team like Minnesota didn't have last year. And that's what really killed us last year. I mean, our GM and coach wouldn't even speak during the regular season like that. You can't have that. So, that's my 2 cents on the Bears. I think Justin Fields, I wasn't as high on him coming out. He's a great quarterback. He looks like a good kid. Maybe a little bit of hints of like Russ Wilson, like maybe a little bit of hints of that. But other than that, I mean, I don't think he's as talented as Russ. I don't think he yet. I mean, I could be wrong, and he could really propel it. And he has Darnell Mooney. If he was to get another receiver, I think they're going to go defense. I think they're going to go maybe corner, like you said. Like if they were to lock down that secondary, I mean, especially with Devontae and Justin Jefferson in that division, I mean, it just makes sense. So but yeah, I mean, we'll kind of see what happens. But I think those two guys, Dan Quinn and Brian Flores, are the two front runners right now. There's probably a dark horse behind there.
There always is. These are just names that we're speculating, honestly. But like you just mentioned, there's always going to be a dark horse, someone we don't see coming. So we haven't mentioned Todd Bowles. I know he's interviewing, I think, in Vegas. He actually interviewed in Chicago. So if they want to go the defensive route, that's another candidate. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, because BA only has a year or two left. So I'm hoping Todd Bowles takes over for him. So we'll see how that goes. Speaking of BA, though, I guess that'll kind of almost take us into the other topic we had of the most recent rumors. A lot of rumors are going around about Brady and Gronk, retiring. Everyone thinks that this is it. And, based off the posts and everything we've been seeing and hearing, honestly, it kind of does seem like it might be it. But the season just ended. It's still early. I'm hoping, obviously, option A as a Bucks fan is that they come back and just, try to go out on top. They deserve to go out on the top. They've done everything. He's the GOAT and everything. To go out with the Super Bowl is just the best way to go out. So, I mean, if he can maybe want to give it one more go, but at the same time, they got nothing to prove, so it's going to be entirely up to them. I think he might wait and see how the team how the team is looking, because right now we have Chris Godwin and Ndamukong Suh, Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, Gronk, Carlton Davis, Ryan Jensen. That's what 7, 8 guys that are for free agents. That so the team might look a lot different. And I know Tom's not going to come back to a team that can't win a championship. He has to look at that roster and know that he can go possibly win a championship. And if that's any question, then that's going to be easy for him to just stay home and retire. And Gronk's the easy one. He's tied to Tommy. If Tom comes back, then Gronk will come back. If Tom retires, Gronk retires. That's pretty easy. It's going to be up to Tom. You're you're 44. We're going to be 45. That's still retiring more than younger than every working class in America. You're going to be 45, 46 retiring. So you're still going to be super young. Give it one more year, man. While you still can, like, especially if you can look back and say, what if, whatever. I'm obviously, a Bucks fan, and that's what I want to happen. But I also want what's best for him, and if what's it makes him happy is staying home, then stay home, and I feel like he's gonna let us know within about a month or so, and if he does decide to stay home, then we'll go to option B, C, D, and E. But he's definitely option A, him and Gronk. But we got to figure out, Jason Light. He's got his hands full. He's got to figure out which of these free agents are worth keeping. I don't think we're gonna be able to do it like last year. We were able to keep everyone. I don't think that's gonna happen again. So we're gonna have to prioritize some of these guys. To me, Godwin is priority one. Tom loves him. It's his little security blanket. So I think getting Godwin back for sure. To me, Lenny is his other guy. He loves Lenny. The guy that he can have some soft hands that protects him in the pass game. Lenny scored 2 touchdowns. He scored every game he's been in a playoff game. Lenny's been scoring touchdowns in every single game. So I think Lenny's important. Godwin's important. And then I know he loves Jensen, but I think it might be time to let him go. We got to prioritize certain guys. We drafted a corner or a center in the 3rd round. Ryan Kelly out of Notre Dame. I think he's ready to take over. So I think Jensen might have to get paid somewhere else. Carlton Davis might have to get paid somewhere else. At pick 27, maybe we can get a 1st-round corner right there. So Jason Light's got some decisions to make. I think he can do it though. I think he can put together a team that's good enough to where Tom looks at it and says, I can win with them, and it's going to be up to him. And hopefully in 4 weeks he has a little change of heart. But as of right now, all the rumors we've been hearing, it sounds like it might be it, man. And if it is, thanks for the ride, man. It was a nice 2 years. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, like I mean, you hit it on the head, man. There's so much. The boat's rocking so much right now because the sea's so rough that who knows what's going to happen. I mean, Tom, I think if you asked him right now, like to make a decision, put a gun to his head right now, I think he'd say to walk away because there's so many unknowns. Gronk said the same thing. As if you asked him right now, he'd say probably to hang it up. But again, at the end of the season, like they're probably sore and a little pissed off that they lost on Sunday. So you give them a couple weeks and let them digest the season and let them unwind a little bit. They'll be itching for football come March, April again. So I fully expect Brady to be back. I mean, or at least want to come back and have the opportunity to come back. And of course, like you said, if Brady comes back, Gronk comes back. A lot of moving pieces, though, like you said, like it sounds like Byron Leftwich is getting that job in Jacksonville. So, I mean, which is a perfect spot for him. It makes a lot of sense. He played there for many years. Like he's going to be on the move. If Todd Bowles was to leave and go take a head coach job somewhere else, I mean, now you're bringing in 2 different coordinators to your team. You hit on some free agents. I think they're going to probably hit Godwin with that franchise tag. That would probably make the most sense for them this year. Give him a little bit of time, buy him time, especially to get through and just to say, hey, Tom, come on, come back. Come on. Right. We got to, why don't you do it one more year? Would bring Gronk back. You still got Mike there. Like I said earlier, I think that where you guys are sitting, the 1st round of this NFL draft is so deep with corners. going with a corner would probably make you better. Jason Licht is one of the best.
Because because I like Carlton Davis, but he's going to get paid. He's had some solid productive years, so I think he's going to get paid. And he's a guy I've known him. I not know him, but I've watched him for some years. He wants to get paid. And he's not going to. This is his first chance at getting paid, also. So whoever is going to pay him, he's going to go. So I don't think we can afford him. But at pick 27, you can get a guy in the first round that could potentially be better. I still like Jamel Dean. We got Sean Murphy and Bunting. We still have other corners, but Carlton Davis is going to be a guy that needs to be replaced. But that's doable. A corner. It's not like he's a lockdown corner or anything. It's not like he's shutting people down and he's covering the guy's best receivers. Like we tried that once with Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek went ballistic. So it's not like he's a shutdown guy. He's a guy that can be replaced, and that I think can, even if it's in the second round, something, you can find corners late. Richard Sherman was drafted in the 5th round, and turned out pretty good. So you can find corners. So I think that we'll end up replacing him. But that's what it's going to come down to for me, is the team that we build, and then we have however long to do it, because Tom, he's got to let us know here before all these
He
other
said March
dominoes
1st.
fall.
Yeah, he said March
Mhm.
1st. Said before free agency hits, he should know. And he's probably has direct communication with general manager and head coach staff
He's been the general manager.
yeah. Well, what I'm saying is they're not lying to him. This is what we're gonna do. Guys that I would say that probably are expendable are guys like Ndamukong Suh, like you mentioned. You have Vita Vea there, you have Nunez Roches there that I think is a good young player. You could probably develop him to be a pretty good D tackle. You got the 2 studs on the outside. Levante David looks like he might retire, or he's definitely getting up there, and he's still
He's gonna
a
play
100
one
tackle
more.
a year guy at least, but he might be retiring. So that defense side of the ball is definitely we're going to be the focus. I think that in the draft, free agency, and where they use the franchise tag, I think they're going to use the franchise tag on Godwin. I think that would be the smart move, and then work on getting him a deal. I think he's how high I am on Godwin. He's the one buck that I always talk really, really highly about. And I just think that he's, the future of that franchise. I think bringing Lenny back would be huge on like a 3 for 27 type deal. Like get him for a
He
couple of
earned it
years.
too.
Yeah.
He's earned it. He
Maybe
earned
even
it as
more
a
than that,
rookie.
man. I mean, Dalvin's getting 12 a year. I mean, even up in that range, you could be looking at 10, 11, $12 million a year for a guy like Leonard Fournette. He looks like he has the
He can
juice
go somewhere
back.
else with that. I don't think we're gonna be able to afford to pay him that
Well, it
much.
just depends
He
on
is
where
important though.
how much fat you trim, But like you
Right.
said, if Brady comes back, Gronk comes back, and that runs it back for one more year.
But like you said, and like he's gonna let us know by March 1st, and that's the biggest thing. That's what has obviously he came to my team, so I'm gonna like him more. But just Tom, since he's come to Tampa, he's let us in. He was never like posting all these social media posts and showing his personality, getting drunk at the boat
and drunk,
parade.
yeah, and throwing
You know what I
trophies
mean?
around,
Like
yeah.
he's been letting us in, and he's been having fun, and he likes his teammates. So I think that's gonna be, come have fun one more year. Either way, it was fun for, even if it is, if it's it was a hell of a ride. But I think the relationship he has with everyone, like he loves Lenny. I think Mike Evans took a discount. Tom Brady's already taken discounts. Everybody took a discount to come back. I could
Mhm.
see them doing it again. Just one more shot. But it's gonna be, it's almost up to Tommy. And if Tommy's like, you know what, guys, this is it. I want to stay home with my family. Then that changes everything. Then
They
we go
go
into
they go
plan B.
straight into rebuild mode. I think that they're a lot of guys. I think even Leonard Fournette would test for waters, and he probably would leave. And I mean Godwin again. I think they franchise tag him and kind of tie his hands. And I don't
He ain't
really
going
think
nowhere.
I don't really think he's going to have a choice. In the small chance that he does have a choice, I would see him testing waters too if Brady's gone. You know, um, you're going to have other guys retiring. You're going to have Gronk's going to be gone. So, I mean, you're going to have guys like OJ Howard that's going to step up. Yeah, he's going to have to step up.
The offensive line still going to be there. The defense at every level. I mean, you just mentioned Vita Vea. We got Devin White. We got Antoine Winfield in the bag. We got a guy at each level that ain't going nowhere. On offense, offensive line is still going to be there. We still going to have Godwin. Still going to have Evans. Still going to have Cameron Brate. Still going to have OJ Howard. So, I mean, it's not like the rebuild. That's definitely not the word. I think it's it'll be a different, like we might not be the Super Bowl contenders right away that everyone thinks, depending on who the quarterback is, obviously. But I mean, if you put a freaking, obviously, for my plan B is Aaron Rodgers. I don't, people might call me crazy, whatever. But even if it's a Derek Carr or if it's a Jimmy Garoppolo, can take this team to win the division. That's for sure. Like there's
who you're
Deshaun
Watson. You know who you're going to end up getting. No.
Who?
No, fuck Jameis, dude. He ain't. Tampa fans, most Tampa fans, I know you love Jameis. Most Tampa fans would shit their beds if Jameis came back. You know who you're going to end up getting, man, is going to be Carson Wentz. I bet you right now, bet money right now, Carson Wentz is $1 if Tom Brady retires. Like someone like that.
I wouldn't hate that.
I wouldn't hate it either. Because, it's better than any other option you have at quarterback right now.
And the thing that because I like Jimmy because he's not going to turn it over. He hasn't thrown a touchdown and they still find a way to win. But he's not a deep ball guy. And our offense, Bruce Arians system, someone's got to be able to – Mike Evans, someone's got to be able to throw the ball deep downfield a little bit. And Carson Wentz could actually do that. Him and Pittman, he just had made Pittman have a pretty good year, and – who is his number 2 option over there? You got one over here in Godwin. You got to run it. Like he'll be in the best situation of his life, and he's got talent. So I wouldn't hate it. He's just gonna have to trim that contract down a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, like I think a good spot because I really don't see Aaron Rodgers landing in the NFC if he moves on. I see him going to Vegas. I could see him going to Indy, and I can see him going to Pittsburgh.
But if he goes to Vegas, then Derek Carr is available, and
yeah, you would like that a lot. Yeah, he's one of the best deep ball throwers in football, and he actually Vegas. What people don't realize, Vegas actually led the league this year in 20-yard plus plays.
And the comeback ability, bro. How many close games did they win?
He's got a little bit of swag in him, man. He's got
Give me some DC, bro. I would love it.
And again, that would change a lot of things, and I would like to see Derek Carr succeed. I like him a lot. I think he's kind of always had the short end of the stick, whether it was the drama he gets in Vegas and Oakland.
For them, sorry, I know this is kind of random. Allen Robinson to Las Vegas.
For Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine Allen Robinson.
It depends what
Darren Waller
you get, though.
Hunter Renfrow. Because they got money.
Renfrow. So Renfrow is one of those guys that's really starting to, come on the scene, man. I think Renfrow. I don't. He's not your prototypical number 1 receiver, but he's a route runner.
Yeah,
he might be a little bit better than that. And again, I'm not going to sit here and throw Cooper Kupp is on his own echelon, man.
Yeah.
But he's that kind of guy. He can run routes and he can kind of do it all.
It's not the same after the kick. What separates Cooper is what he does once he gets the ball because he turns to running back mode. Renfrow, he's just so slippery, man. It's hard to stay with him.
But he's that kind of, and he really does his best work in the slot. So. Whereas Cooper can go anywhere you want him to go and he can run the offense. He's telling guys where to go now. I mean, the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to see that guy. He's going to be all over the, fancy radars everywhere. He's going to be top receiver, top 3 receiver next couple of years. But no, I mean, Renfro's a guy like that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, bringing in a prototypical, big bodied guy would do a guy like Derek Carr well. But what's going to end up happening, man, is if Aaron Rodgers goes to Vegas, well, guess who's coming with him? And that will be really scary with that pass rush. If they can figure out all the drama down there.
You think that Green Bay is going to let both of those guys
they don't
go
have a
out
choice.
the door?
DA is a free agent. If Aaron Rodgers decides to walk.
Franchise tag Devonta Adams.
I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen. I don't even know if DA qualifies for the franchise tag.
Why not?
I don't know.
I almost
For them,
guarantee he gets
for as much
franchise
as
tag.
for as many rumors as there is that Devontae Adams may, because that's I think Aaron Rodgers is waiting to see if Devontae comes back. I really think that's what he's waiting for, to see what he wants to do. They're probably in cahoots, like, hey man, you want to go to Vegas? Let's go to Vegas. You want to go to Indy? Let's
He's
go to
got
Indy.
like what Rod if he wants to stay there and give it one last hoorah, which I don't think is gonna
I don't
happen.
think it's going to happen either.
I think Rodgers is gone, and I know he loves Devontae, but they're gonna play on different teams this year. I think Devontae is gonna get franchise tag. They're 45 million over the cap. Guess what? Rodgers is 46 million cap hit, and all of a sudden they're even, and they franchise tag Devontae. And guess what? They run it back with everyone else but Rodgers. They're gonna have to draft. They're gonna have to draft, and they haven't drafted terrible, so they're gonna have to keep drafting, and at least they still got that guy. But I don't think Devontae. There's no way they would riot if you let Rodgers and Devontae out that door. There is no way,
That
and he's got to
man,
be.
I'm telling you right now, that man he thinks differently than we do. And that organization, you look at the history of the Green Bay Packers. They hit the reset. I mean, they build behind it, but then they hit the reset button. They did it with Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. They're gonna do it again. They're gonna do it again. And they're going to hit the reset button. They think Jordan Love is the future. I don't think he's the future. I think that guy is total horse shit. And I'm excited to see him come in, because he's not Aaron Rodgers, he's not Brett Favre. He's not going to be able to carry that franchise. You hear, with Aaron Rodgers, like, that guy had motivation. That guy had, everything, because he fell in the draft.
I mean, if those are the standards, he only has to win one in 15 years, 16 years. So they should be patient if that, because apparently that's
If
the
he
only
lasts
standard.
that long, I could see them going real quick in the next 2 or 3 years in desperation, because they realize, like, hey, this guy, we actually moved up for him. It's a completely different situation than Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers fell to them in the draft, and then it came. Plus, he had all the talent in the world when he first got there. I mean, he was coming off. Brett Favre was able to bring that team to NFC championships too. That team was talented as hell.
I guess the only part I kind of disagree with is I trust LaFleur, man. I think LaFleur is a damn good coach. He's had 3 seasons now, and he's had 13 wins in every year.
I just see that roster. I see that roster differently, man. I see that
The roster is
roster
going to
as
be
a
different because
decent
they're going to probably lose. Zadarius Smith is probably gone, So, but Rashawn Gary actually looked really good, and they just drafted him in the first round 2 years ago.
Yeah,
He
I
just
mean,
had a good playoff game.
every team's gonna have guys that look good, but the person who brought that team to the championship was Aaron Rodgers. Without Aaron
And he's
Rodgers,
also
that
the
team.
person that fell to shit in the divisional round and only scored 10 points.
Yeah, you're right. He is, but he does that every fucking year. Because
so all they got to do is get in, and if Jordan Love 1 year out of these next 10 can get through, you never know, man. I mean, I think it's going to be Jordan Love's team. I think for sure, because the cap situation, they can't, if they keep Rodgers, that team, they let everybody else go. Literally almost everybody else is gone, from that team if they keep Rodgers.
The body language in that organization, it's a race of desperation that they have to have Aaron Rodgers. Like, this year, it felt like, oh, we have to have Aaron. Like, oh my God, Jordan's not ready. I still feel they think that way, and LaFleur is still hoping that Aaron comes back, because Jordan Love is not the answer, and I think they know that. And I think that game against the Chiefs, like, we saw it. Like, he couldn't hit an open receiver. I think he went like 2 for the first 10. He just
One game, his first game on Sunday
you
Night
just talked about
Football
Aaron Rodgers having one bad game. I mean,
against
what's the
Patrick Mahomes.
difference?
Yeah, but he has had so many years to prove it, and his bad games always come in the playoffs.
I just don't see it behind it. I think DA falls off if he stays with Jordan Love. I don't see it there. He's
definitely fallen off for sure, but they want
he's
at
going
least
into
to have
year
Jordan
3.
Love to have somebody, because if you're Jordan Love, if you're the Packers, Jordan Love, who do you think your new best friend is? Okay, if you ever get rattled, if you ever do anything, throw it to 17. Like that's what he's gonna do, and that's what they should do.
You don't think that the entire 11 people on defense aren't going to know that? And Jordan Love's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to hit those back shoulders. He's not going to hit those. He's not going to hit those perfect balls.
No, he's going to have to use his legs. He's young. He's not. Don't. If you compare him to Aaron Rodgers, then it ain't going to be good for him. Of course, he's going to
Aaron
look
Rodgers
back.
is mobile too, and he gets those 20-yard runs when he on 3rd and 12 too.
They're going to be a different. It's going to be a different team. It'll be a completely different team. It'll be like the Niners with Trey Lance. You know how they're going to be next year, because it's not. No one's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a unique individual. You know, so they're going to have to win different ways. Their defense, they got Jair Alexander. They have some pieces on defense, but if they lose Smith, they only have Rashawn Gary. Is their defense going to be good enough? They got Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. They're going to have to be running the ball.
Smith too. Yeah. They have pieces. I mean, they have Aaron Jones.
They're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to find different ways to win games. It's not going to be on the arm of their quarterback like it's been the past 30 years. They're going to have to find other ways, you know. But that being said, they have only won 2. They had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and won 2 Super Bowls. That's it. So
Jordan Love, as dominant as a franchise as everybody. Like, they're not. I mean, they're the same way as the Cowboys, man. I mean, the Cowboys haven't won shit since the 90s. You know, people need to stop talking about them.
Think about it. Think about this year, right now. If they, or even last year in the championship game, you think Justin Jefferson might help the Packers a little bit more than Jordan Love? You know, like didn't Justin Jefferson go after Jordan Love? They could have, like, the Packers could have drafted Justin Jefferson or whoever it was, you know. Or 2 years ago. You know, they either way they could have drafted.
We got Justin like 19. Jordan went at like 28 or something like that. No, Justin went first. Green Bay never had a chance. It was the Eagles and teams like that, Denver and Oakland. They had the chance to draft Jefferson. No, the Packers were behind us. The Packers got him at like 25 or 28 or something like that. Jefferson went at 19, 20, 21 in that range right there. So, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, if they would have had a chance to draft him, I'm sure they would have done it. But Justin Jefferson was never going to be a Packer. There's no way he was going to fall to the end of that round. The fact that he fell to Minnesota, when that was one of the greatest moments of, you know, Spielman's GM career, was being able to laugh at the Eagles and laugh at all the Eagle fans for them drafting in 2 years in a row. They fucked up their receiver pick. And, you know, it's just, but whatever. Yes, he would have helped the Packers, but he would never fell that far. But Jordan Love, I mean, I think that was a mistake. And I think Aaron Rodgers knew that was a mistake, and it had nothing to do with it being Jordan or it being a quarterback. I think he realized, like, that draft pick, they fucked up. They had an opportunity to be a Super Bowl contender right off the bat with a different draft pick. And first round capital is insanely valuable. And to go and risk it when you still have a guy, and look, and if Aaron Rodgers wanted to play 3-4 more years, he could. So they pulled the trigger on somebody too early. And now they're realizing that it's not him. It's not it. And I think that's where the desperation comes from. Like, oh, we have to have him back, do whatever you have to do. But Aaron Rodgers now has a disconnect with the general manager. I mean, him and Matt LaFleur might be best friends, but he has a disconnect with the general manager. He doesn't want to play there anymore. You know, he loves the city, loves the fans, but he obviously pissed him off enough to want to leave. And, you know, I don't blame him. I hate the Packers, and Aaron Rodgers has always been a smug son of a bitch. But you know what? I respect the guy for, you know, holding to his morals, especially this year. You see it with, you know, his whole vaccination stuff, and he held to his morals. And I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see that some guys in the sports world are holding on to their morals, and, you know, they pissed him off. Doesn't matter loyalty, because they weren't loyal to him. So why the fuck should he be loyal to them?
Yeah.
You know,
my bad. It was DK Metcalf, not Justin Jefferson.
DK Metcalf.
DK could have helped, you know, like either way, they could have done something to, you know, because you just said it. Aaron Rodgers has 3 to maybe 3. If he wants it, he could play 3 years. You know, we just saw an MVP caliber season, and he's mobile, you know, and he's not on the TB12 system, but he's whatever system he's on, he's aging pretty damn well too. Whatever he's doing, it's working pretty well. So,
and another little tidbit about Aaron Rodgers, man, the first time in his career, I think he's happy outside of football too. Like he's found,
he's letting us in now too.
Yeah, I don't know his girlfriend's name. I know she's an actress, but I know you just see like pictures on Instagram and Twitter and stuff, and he generally seems happy. When he was with Danica Patrick and all these other, just people in his life, he wasn't happy, and you could see it on the football field. Like he was just miserable, and so he put everything he had into football. Well, now he's happy outside of life or outside of football, and this isn't the only thing
he was on the he was on the Pat McAfee show, and he mentioned Peyton Manning and John Elway going out on top. And I think that's something that to me, he spoke volumes. That to me says he's coming back, and that's exactly what he wants to do. You don't bring those guys up specifically and mention them going out like that without you in the back of your mind wanting that. He wants it. Where's it going to be? And he's going to sit back. He's going to take his time. He held out all the way to the end to see what the Packers would do. He's going to do that this year. And they're going to end up, I think, and this is where I could be wrong, but when he held out last year and before he came back, they could have had I could be wrong on this. I'm pretty sure they had an agreement in place to where if you come back, I know you're on the contract next year, but he wants control. He wanted control over his future, his playing future. So the deal of him coming back is that he plays out the year that they just played out, and that he can control what he does this year. They can't control it for him, so they can't tag him. They're not going to keep, like, if he wants to go, they're going to let him go. And if they let him go, and he's going to have the right to choose what team he goes to. I could be wrong, because I know I was talking to Josh about this online, and he was saying that they are going to have to trade him, but who's going to trade for him? No one's going to trade for that cap number.
Yeah, the way that I understand it, the way that Ian Rappaport reported it back in August when the deal was done, or September when they redid everything for him to come back, the way I understand it too is they voided his last 2 years and he basically became a free agent, but he has the option to come back every year, is the way I understand it too. I believe he is now an unrestricted free agent based on his contract, which it's a contract we've never seen before because he still technically has 2 years left. And so he has a number. So if he returns to the Packers, he already has a contract in place. He has a number. He knows what he's returning to. But I think at the same time, he has all the power to seek free agency and go anywhere that he wants. And like you said, he can't be tagged. He owns every card in the deck. So I think you're right about that. That's at least the way I understand it. That's the way that ESPN and NFL reported it.
And if that's the case, right, and we just talked about him potentially wanting to go out on top, that's when I think we almost like Tom Brady, like how I brought up the Bucs. He's waiting to see what they do. He's going to wait and see what Green Bay does. He's going to wait and see what all these teams do, who these coaches get hired, because I don't think he's going to Vegas. Vegas ain't going to – you're either going to wait and see what's going on in Green Bay. If Tom goes, that's why I said Tampa, because if, Rodgers saw what Brady did, he could probably feel like he could do the same thing. Or maybe a team like Pittsburgh, they could be ready. Maybe Rodgers goes over there, Who knows?
See.
That we still got.
You're starting to cut up a little bit, brother. Yeah, you're freezing. I can't really hear you. Sorry, I'm not meaning to cut you off, but I see him going to a team that already has a pretty legit defense in place. I see him going to an offensive line in place, somebody that's going to protect him, protect his assets, and have some playmakers on the outside, and because you add a guy like Aaron Rodgers, and 95% of the league is being increased. Like that team is automatically being upgraded, no matter what team he goes to, obviously, except for like Kansas City or, a team like even Buffalo. That's not even in question. So, he goes to a team like Indy. I think if he goes to a team like Indianapolis, they have the offensive line, they have the defense, they have the playmakers, they have Michael Pittman, they have
cap space too.
They have the money. He plays indoors. I mean, he's going to play out of the
Imagine Allen Robinson going with him. Like I said, they're not losing both. Devontae's getting franchise tag. And Allen Robinson going over there with Aaron Rodgers.
That's going to
that offensive line and that running back.
That would be if I was Aaron. In
a dome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say like Indianapolis is like the best place to live and like that's where I want to be.
No but this dude goes, games, baby.
This dude goes on vacation to Arkansas, so I really don't think that he gives a shit where he plays.
The market goes where he goes. That's Aaron Rodgers. He's not chasing no market or anything.
Yeah, like you said, he's talking about Elway and Manning. And, Brady's talking about that too. I think Brady's situation is a little bit different. That's why I fully expect him to come back. He's got 1 year left. I think I think this is going to leave a bad taste in his mouth. He's going to run it back. He's going to get Godwin back.
It should. 70 force them to do QBR, 2 turnovers. You almost being the main reason we lost that game, besides Todd Bowles' dog shit call. But either way, I love you, Tom. Come back.
Yeah, and I don't think he really honestly needs an offensive coordinator. I don't really think they need one. They're going to hire somebody, but it doesn't matter.
Not if he's there. If it's a different quarterback, then that might be an important hire. But if Tommy's good.
But Aaron Rodgers, man, the reason why I keep saying the Colts is it's the fit. The fit works there. And I kind of mentioned a couple of days ago that Michael Pittman kind of takes a jump up. Excuse me. Pittman takes a step up. Jonathan Taylor, is a monster. It just makes so much sense. He's still going to have little crafty vets like Ty. Ty will be his little Randall Cobb. There's stuff that's there that just makes a lot of sense. You have Darius Leonard. You have Quentin Nelson, who is a fucking monster. It makes so much sense.
Buckner.
And it gets him out of the NFC North. So Indy, make the call.
He's out of there. I think he's out of there. So as a Vikings fan, as a Bears fan, it's your time. It's gonna come down to those two. I think Green Bay. I don't think Jordan Love, as much as LaFleur is probably the best coach in that division, if your quarterback's the worst in the division, then there's not going to be a whole lot you can do. So
what?
Players ultimately win.
The only thing that I'll do is I'll probably draft Aaron Jones in the first round, like Eric's been doing the last 2 years. That's the only thing that means anything to me is, and having AJ Dillon, having those two guys, like that's the only thing that means to me is fantasy wise, because that team's going to be trash, for the next couple of years until they figure
out. At the same time, that's going to be loaded box after loaded box after loaded box. They're going to make Jordan Love beat him through the air.
Now DA's still there.
But exactly. Do you load a box against DA? No, not really. So
yeah, they can't. You can't. So anyway, bro, this one's been really, really long. I know we still have a lot to talk about. We can go into it tomorrow when we go into our playoff. Our
championship weekend coming up. So Friday we'll go through our predictions. We got 2 games. We'll dig into each game. We'll go into the who's in, who's out. We'll get our DFS lineup. So we'll dig into the championship weekend here coming up. All you Niner, Bengal, Chiefs fans out there and Rams fans, fuck you. But we'll get into the championship weekend here on Friday and let you guys know our predictions. Hit us up. Let us know if you guys A2D.
Yeah, Niner fans, Rams fans, you know what, guys? We love you, but we are just shut up. We're sick and tired of hearing about it. We get it. The Niners are going to show up at SoFi. We fucking get it. All right. The Rams aren't scared of you. It's just they don't want to have 50-50. So shut up.
Hey, they travel well. Let it be. Well, you guys are going to get your shine.
Everyone travels well to SoFi. It's SoFi. No one in LA watches fucking football. Vikings
get your shine on Friday, Niner fans. Let's go, faithful.
All right, guys. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.